Hello, welcome to today's video. Yes, a video on a Tuesday. I'm going out later, so I'm not going to have a live stream, but instead you get a video. And today's video is my review of the Notts Kill Team Christmas Clash tournament that I attended on Saturday. So, those of you that have been following the channel for a while know some of this stuff, but I'm just going to go through it anyway. This was my first independent Kill Team tournament. I've shied away from independent events because in my youth I had some poor experiences at independent tournaments, independent game stores. More on that later. So this is kind of a review of the whole experience, not just the games, but everything you could want to know about the whole experience. The venue was the Sanctuary Gaming Centre in Sutton in Ashfield, or is it Nottingham, or is it Mansfield? I'm not quite sure. Their address says Sutton in Ashfield. The Travel Lodge that's 3 minutes down the road says Mansfield, and it's Notts Kill Team. Follow your sat-nav, and you'll be good. The ticket was only £20, and this is going to be really relevant later. And the local Travel Lodge, that Mansfield Travel Lodge I mentioned, was only £30, so 50 quid plus fuel for a really, the value on offer here for a day out is immense. It really immense. We'll get onto that in a minute as well. It was a 4-round tournament with a mix of Into the Dark and open tables. Lunch, which was provided, included in the ticket price, the £20 ticket price, and a painting competition. And there was also, not mentioned on the slide, there was also a Christmassy costume competition, which, only about 4 or 5 people seriously, like most people were there in a Christmas jumper, like I am now, it is the season. Only about 4 or 5 people were there in proper full-on costumes, but the people that were there really did go for it. Our very own channel member, Amuse Brush, was there as, I think it was Scrooge, but it was specifically the Scrooge from the Muppets Christmas Carol after he's at the end when he puts on his red scarf because he's had his experience and he's going to be a nice person. So that was that. He didn't win, got my vote though. Right, so food, obviously, I like my food and other amenities. So the venue is reasonably well served by parking. There is a car park. The car park's a little bit weird in that there's a car park, and then there's an Iceland car park, and then there's another bit of car park that I think is for the gaming centre again. So there was a couple of announcements during the day about people being parked in the wrong place, and then Iceland were going to give them a ticket. There was something on the front desk of the shop about registering your car with a QR. I mean, I did fill that in, but I don't know if I needed to. Nobody mentioned it. And something that most people wouldn't notice, but I did notice. So I'm a blue badge holder. I'm entitled to parking disabled. There's no disabled parking spaces in the car park there, which is not really anything about the tournament or the tour organisers. It's just a slight, really, at the venue, you're going to have a store and a car park. You're not going to have one parking space for people to open their door a bit wide. It wasn't a problem. I was waiting around in the car park a little tiny bit at the end, just for the person in the space next to me to pull away so I could open my door dead wide and then fold myself into the car. But apart from all that, it's next door to Witherspoons, which, the tournament starts at 9 o'clock. And the Wetherspoons starts at 8 o'clock. So me and Zimbad thought we'd go to the Witherspoons for breakfast before the tournament. Now, if we were going to Warhammer World, we'd have breakfast in Bugman's. We thought we'd go to Witherspoons for breakfast. It was a pretty good breakfast, if you've had a Witherspoons breakfast before. I think me and Zimbad fed ourselves and watered ourselves for £12 all in, right? And obviously it was a popular idea because on the table next to us there was Jason the TO and all the Notts Kill Team crew. So obviously it's their regular thing is to go to Witherspoons before the tournament, and they kind of stocked up, and then they went off at about 8:45 to set up, and we kind of sat in the Witherspoons for another 15 minutes to give them some time to do their thing, and then sorted around literally next door to play some games of Kill Team. So that was amazing. I don't know if they do this every tournament, right? There was a complimentary Domino's pizza buffet, and let me tell you, there was plenty of pizza. Had a couple of slices and thought, well, I'll wait a bit. Had a couple of slices again, and wanted to make sure everybody got their fair share. There was pizza left at the end, so there was plenty of pizza to be had. Which, given that you pay 20 quid for your ticket, and a pizza from Domino's, one is £24. That was pretty. When they said there was pizza for lunch, I assume what they meant was the shop will be selling pizza at lunch for £4 a slice. So I was pretty pleasantly impressed by the fact there was just all this dominoes laid on for lunch. Sanctuary also, the shop, sell drinks and delicious homemade. I've written donuts. I obviously mean donuts. Really good homemade donuts, reasonable prices as well. The one thing I would say again, so far, this is the second negative I had to say, and they're both about the venue, and they're not really big deals, right? As a shop, it was. I had a quick look around, but like even the Citadel paint section was like ravaged. They had barely anything in. So what I'm saying is, don't. If you go to one of these tournaments, and I heartily recommend that you do, really, really good day out. Don't be like, oh, I'll just pick up a paint or next month's White Dwarf or something in the shop. Don't bank on the shop having what you want, because the stock for everything it had seemed fairly limited. They seemed like really good people, and the donuts were great, and the drink selection was great, but the actual hobby stuff seemed pretty sparse to me, right? More things about the amenities. So the venue itself is all on the ground floor, which is good, and chairs are provided. This is stuff that I, as a sort of disabled person, notice these things. So I'm listening to this, might find this useful. So they're on the ground floor. Chairs provided at all the gaming tables. More comfortable chairs than the Warhammer World stools, just saying. The tables themselves are a bit close together. So, like, the gangways between the tables are very narrow. So you do have to sort of, push past people a few times. And I would stop to have a conversation with somebody, and then it would be very, very clear that I was in somebody's way. And all very good nature, but there's just a little bit of, as you get to the table. Once you get to the table, loads of space. Like, there was loads of space on either side of the table for all your bits and pieces. So once you're situated, loads of space. Just when you're moving around the room between the tables, it was a bit more crammed together, I suppose. Really warm, so like Christmas jumpers weren't a good look. I haven't got it on today, but like fortunately I had my Christmas themed Hawaiian shirt on underneath, and it really was Hawaiian shirt weather in December inside Sanctuary. So again, I imagine it can probably get pretty grim in the height of summer. I don't know. So it was pretty warm for the middle of winter. So dress accordingly for that. Toilets are a fair number of stairs. Jason did say something about a disabled toilet. And I'm sure I could have said, oh, you said there was a disabled toilet. Can I just, like, I'm 100% sure that wasn't a problem. As it was, like, my condition, I have good days and bad days. And I was having a really good day. So I was like, yeah, I'll go up the stairs. Good for my circulation, good for me. Doctor always helps me to get more exercise, so yeah, up the stairs, no problem. Toilet all fine, clean, normal, standard, no problems there. Right, that's all the Billy Basic stuff sorted out that nobody ever talks about, right? Because I want to get straight into the fun bit, the wargaming, but I feel like all this stuff's really important. Like, these are the things that I think of when I'm thinking about going to a tournament. Like, oh, is there parking? What's it like? Oh, what are the facilities like? What's this? What's that? Will I be fed? Important to me. Presumably important to other humans. I don't know. Anyway, on with something more Warhammer related. The terrain available was really good. It was a mix of open board and Into the Dark. I took a couple of photographs, a couple of examples of tables I happened to be playing on. The terrain was all lent out by different members of the community, and the painting standard on the terrain ranged from, like, fine, serviceable, all the way up to, like, immaculate and superb, and you will be scared to touch it, right? So, the full range of paint jobs on the terrain. They had the 3D printed not to kill team objective markers down, pre-placed, marking all the objectives. They had the everything was blue tacked down as well. Everyone's been listening to Glass Half Dead, blue tacking everything else, which is great. They had the deployment zones taped off. And what I hadn't seen before, and everybody needs to copy this, Warhammer World needs to copy this, your local tournament needs to copy this, on the diagonal deployment zone maps, as you can see here, the centre line was marked with tape as well, which is so important, obviously for secure centre line, which I ended up taking a couple of times, but for loads of other things in the game, you need to know where the centre line is, and that was a really nice and thoughtful touch, and I've not seen that anywhere else. So if you're looking for things to copy, mark off your centre lines, people, come on. One thing they did that I thought was really cool was, because they're using people's personal terrain that people have brought and like lending to the tournament, they had a competition. Well, there's so many prizes, we'll talk about that in a minute, but they had a competition for people voted for which table in the event they thought was the nicest table, and that person won, I think it was a voucher to the store. I'm not sure. They won something gift cardy shapes, right? And that's just a really good way of rewarding those locals who sort out terrain for the tournament to try and make sure the terrain is painted to a really high standard. That was really good. The actual terrain layout, like actual Warhammer game stuff. So they weren't using, as far as I could tell, the TPT map pack explicitly. Some of the layouts were pretty similar to the TPT layouts, but some of them were invented by the Not Skill Team guys. Some of them were a little bit, the whole vibe, and we'll get onto the vibe in a minute. The vibe's really important. The whole vibe wasn't like Razor's Edge tournament stuff. So maybe like this table on the screen now is fine, and the other one we're going to look at in a second is fine. There was a couple that were a bit like light on, like Zimbad was saying that he had one that was short table edges against Tau, and there wasn't as much terrain in the middle as he would have liked, and so it was a bit of a shooting gallery. But so I guess your mileage may vary if you're hoping for a really, really finely balanced experience, but I had no issues on any of the tables I played on, certainly. Yeah. So the only thing that I think is, this is my only real negative, and a note, I did say this to Jason at the event as well, and he totally legitimately said, yeah, I totally understand, and I've already thought of this, and the problem is that with so many people, we only have so much terrain and so much space, and I get it. I'm just flagging it up for the sake, because like my review of this event really is 11 out of 10. It was fantastic and I really enjoyed it, but there is one like I have two little things about the venue, but this is the only real note for the tournament organisers, which is you aren't guaranteed a variety of games. So I didn't play Into the Dark all day, despite it being a mixed tournament. So what Warhammer World have done, and they live in the factory where they make the stuff and they don't pay for it full price. Like, I get it. I understand the practicalities. But it is worth saying, I suppose, if you go to Warhammer World, like, round 1 will all be open, round 2 will all be Into the Dark, round 3 will all be open, and they have both terrain sets deployed on every table, so they have double the number of terrain sets than they actually need. So you're guaranteed a certain number of Into the Dark. I played no Into the Dark all day. Other people could have played all Into the Dark all day. 2 or 3, I can't quite remember, of my games, but like half or more than half of them were on corner deployments. And Zimbad actually played on the same table twice. And he said to me, like, I'm sure I could have gone and said, oh, Jason, I've already played on this table, can I just do a swap? And I'm sure it would have been fine. He didn't. So they didn't have the chance to do anything about it. And, to be honest, we both of us just, because we both agree, we definitely want to go to the next one, and we definitely had a great time. If you're going to do a review video, you almost have to find the tiny little things to go, well, this has been better at other places. But, like, it's such a minor thing. But this terrain's lovely. This was one of the really nice boards. Really enjoyed that. The snow and everything else, that was really nicely put together. Really, really nice board. So the atmosphere. So my biggest worry going in was the atmosphere, because years and years ago, I've been to events for 40k and Underworlds at like local stores and things, where if you walked in and you weren't from the local crowd, you weren't necessarily made to feel very welcome. Kind of like walking into a saloon in a cowboy film and all the eyes turn and look at you and that sort of thing. This was amazing. The atmosphere here, I think, was actually better than Warhammer World in a way. Everyone was really laid back and everyone was really friendly. And it's not a slight on Warhammer World, all the people who go to it, but I think actually, because they've got the golden ticket thing, and because the Warhammer World events, like the most recent ones, have been like big golden ticket events, obviously you're going to get those super serious players that come out to play super serious kill team against other super serious kill team players. And whilst they try and accommodate when they get a newer player that they're going to have to beat, they obviously also they want to beat you by the best possible margin to get the top place and to try and ensure their gold. And I get it, and it's fine. And this didn't have, like, there was 1 or 2 like players from the London scene that I recognised. There was Bart, who I had the pleasure of playing in round 1 in the tournament that I famously came last in, right? There was a couple that had come down from, I'm not by any means saying that people can't come down, but the fact that it was more casual, like skill level, and more casual people, and everyone was dressed in their Christmas gear, and the whole thing it really was a magical atmosphere. And part of it might be the time of year. It was Christmas. I don't know if all the events are that good, but it really was. the community there, like, for all the nits that I've picked earlier in the video, the community there really is something special. And they're so, and they manage to do that without being insular about it, without it feeling like you're not, you go in and you instantly feel like you know these guys. And I know somehow I've got like a little bit of an easy ride because I don't know them, but maybe some of them, I flatter myself, have been watching my videos, so they know me a little bit, so that for sure kind of helps. But they're so like open and humble, and you just feel straight away like you're playing in your own. Like, I don't have a decent local club around here, so you feel like you're playing in your own local club straight away. And I'm eager to go back. I really am. It really, me and Zimbad were joking, only half joking. So we got to move to Nottingham. Then they managed to be a great that it was that lovely. They're almost a great advertisement for their city. That's how. I feel like I'm over egging the pudding, but that's how we felt. Like, we were literally saying in the car, we should go live in Nottingham, Now, maybe part of that magic was down to Christmas. I don't know. We'll see. We'll go back at another non-Christmassy time and see if it's just as lovely. I actually preferred it to Warhammer World. That doesn't mean Warhammer World's bad. We don't live in a binary world where I'm still going to go to all Warhammer World events. Right, don't worry. But part of me actually preferred this to Warhammer World in ways, and we'll talk more about the comparison at the end. Prize support and freebies. So I took this little pitch. I'm sure if I'd asked them, I could have got a decent picture. Like, I'm going to put this in my YouTube review. Can I? And I could have, but I took a picture of the prize table. So everybody got one of those selection boxes. Like, every single person got on a selection box. Like, add that to the free. Like, this is the difference. Warhammer World has to make a profit, and it has to pay people's wages, all the staff, all the chefs, all the cooks. This is all volunteers, and I don't know if the Sanctuary take a little bit of money off the top, but it's all volunteers, and they're obviously not trying to make anything back out of it. And then, I don't know, I just can't understand how all this stuff. I mean, that paint set alone's probably worth quite a lot. The Monument Hobbies paint set that was one of the prizes. So staggering what they're able to do. There were trophies for best general, effectively. So first, second, first, as I've apparently written. First, second, third in the actual tournament itself. First, second, third for painting. Best opponent. The Wooden Spoon Awards, the person that came last in the tournament got an award as well. Pity that Warhammer World doesn't have those, or I'd have them. And then best overall, so the person who had both the highest ranked gamer among the highest ranked painters, because there was a painting vote and obviously your gaming score. So the person that had the best overall, the sort of hobby, the Renaissance man, if you will. And it wasn't, the trophies would have been perfectly fine by themselves. It wasn't just that. There was also prize support. So first, second, third, like best general, each got a kill team. I think you had a choice of the Star Striders, the Hand of the Archon, or Felgor's Ravagers, just as a free gift. Weirdly, the person that came third got to choose first, and the person that came second got to choose second, and the person that came first was stuck with the one that was left over. But hey, that's that's a minor thing. And then I think the Monument Hobbies paint set went to the winner of the painting competition, and then the Red Gobbo went to the winner of the costume contest. There you go. So, really, really nice. And not only did we all get a free selection box, which is, I'm afraid to say, long gone, we also got, and I haven't, it's just 3 little 3D printed parts. There's a shoulder pad, 2 shoulder pads and a head, right, for converting an intercessor into they've got their custom, like, Robin Hood themed Not to Kill Team chapter. I don't have a box of intercessors. I don't want to open the whole box of 10 intercessors just to build one guy. I nearly did it just for the channel, just so I could show you. I'm going to keep these. I don't know. Maybe I'll get a few more, and there'll be a kill team at some point, or maybe I'll do like a Death Watch thing, and I'll just stick one Not to Kill Team guy in there. I haven't decided yet, but I'm definitely going to treasure this, keep it to one side, and wait for inspiration to strike, so I can decide what to do with that. But then that was all free. Right. So I've rambled for 20 minutes nearly and not talked about any of my actual games, which is probably what most of you who live in America and are never going to come to this event are here for. But, bear with. So, games. So round one was against a guy called Dan Gibbs. Dan was playing Intercession, and he did win, 17 points to my 14. Dan gave me a few kills at the start of the game. Like, he moved to places where I don't think he should have done. I was able to kill his guys, and honestly, by the end of turn 2, we both thought I was going to win. But maybe I got too complacent because he was able to pull it back towards the end, and he did then secure the win. Honestly, this was a very bad game from a technical point of view. We both made silly mistakes, and I probably made slightly more of them. So he forgot for the first 2 turning points that his bolters had P1 on the crit. Now, I play against Zimbad's Intercession a lot, and Zimbad always takes the bolters with P1 on the crit, and I know that there are different bolt rifles, and they don't all have P1 on the crit, and I don't remember which is which. And he was saying, I do this. I was constantly trying to say to him, like, oh, do they have any P1? Like, before I rolled any defense dice, I was saying, do they have P1? Do they have P1? And it was only like halfway through, like, the end of turn 2, and he looks at his rules and goes, oh, no, they do have P1. And I'm like, well, I was trying to prompt him. And then, turning point 2, I forgot to activate an entire model. He was under the Octaris building, and I forgot he was there, so that's good. And I forgot to declare my eliminate guards target at the top of turning point 3. I don't think either me or Dan are morning people, so we're both there at like 9:10, trying to play kill team and not really making the best, the best showing of ourselves. I am always this way. I'm like a rolling stone. I take ages to get going. Once I get going, I can be quite good. But this was, but it was a fun game. Not technical quibbles notwithstanding. I had a lot of fun. I felt like I learned a lot, and I enjoyed my experience. Right. This was the only game in the tournament where I took Seek and Destroy. After this, I decided to pivot to security because I was really struggling with. I don't think I've ever got the second point from Rob and Ransack, right? And I was really struggling with route. Don't take route on corner deployment, guys. I mean, probably that's an elementary tactic, but And one of the things about Justian is they do suffer with tac ops because you don't have that faction tac op, so you are relying on taking 3 tac ops from your archetype, where I feel like these days most teams have 1 faction tac op that they can play. I do think Intercession is better than Justian. I'm going to take the Justian to January's Warhammer World event to enter in the painting competition there more than anything else, and then I'll probably hang them up and move on to something else. We shall see. Round 2 was against the guy called JJ Pinnock. JJ was a great guy. Actually got my vote for favourite opponent. Very, very lovely guy to talk to. Very accommodating with, the way he played by intent, and reminded me occasionally of things that I could do that he didn't have to remind me of, and things like that, which is good. And I tried to reciprocate and remind him of things that he could do that he didn't have to do. It was a 17-point tie. Okay. So we both scored 17 points. Kind of similar to the last game, I had a commanding position for a lot of the game. A couple of turns of scoring 4 on the primary and locking him back, and then I didn't really advance past the mid-board. I was doing the secure centre line, central control, capture kind of thing. But he played really cleverly with his Corsairs towards the end of the game, pulled back a draw, scored his secondaries, including hold them back, which the way I was playing was basically a free gift, right? And he denied me my secondaries and he clawed it back to a draw, and really excellent play on his behalf there. It was a great game. Enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. And then that brings us into lunchtime. I've already kind of waxed lyrical a little bit about the lunch. Hundreds of pounds worth, I think, of Domino's Pizza, free of charge to attendees. I mean, amazing. Like, what? It's like my favourite food. Painting competition. The painting competition was absolutely fierce. The standard here was, there must be a significant contingent of Nott's kill teamers that don't go to Warhammer World, because the standard of painting here was better than you see at Warhammer World. Like, every single thing entered into that competition was an absolute 10, right? I entered my Lamenters, and as I've spoken about on the channel before, like, I'm so proud of them. They are the best thing I've ever painted. And if I hadn't won anything with them at like Warhammer World, I'd be a little bit tilted about it. But seeing the stuff that was there and how good that it all was, it's like there were easily half a dozen teams that were better than, like, not even a judgment call, just, oh yeah, no, they're better, right? So go check out Knott's Kill Team IG is the name of their Instagram feed, and have a look at all of the things that they photographed there, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Some of those things were absolutely ridiculously good. It's like the hobby standard in the Nottingham group there is, you know, you're playing in some, not all the tables, but in some cases you were playing with your artworks versus your opponent's artworks on top of a third artwork. Like, it really was the summit of hobby. You know, playing the game with these, I absolutely loved it. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant guys, brilliant crowd, brilliant hobby. Round 3 was against a guy called Wesley Saunders, according to BCP, but Wes. I won a game of Kill Team at a tournament. I won 18-17. He was playing Hierotek Circle. Now, this was a really interesting game for me because I had not played against Hierotek Circle ever. And I've played as them about once or twice, but right when they came out, before they got any buffs. I was again trying the tactic of taking central control, secure centre line, and seize ground, which seemed to be doing better from me than the Seek and Destroy start I took in the first round. And again, I advanced up to the mid-board and then sort of tried to hold my ground in the middle. Wes did have Hold Them Back, which is the counter to playing these 3 cards, right? You're going to risk giving up Hold Them Back for free. But in the final analysis, I was able to secure victory. It was a heartfelt game, a hard-fought game, though. I only had my sniper and heavy boulder left at the turning point 4, and I was trying to move them around to score the last point and deny points and things like this, and it was very much a nail-biter, but one where I pulled it back in the end and managed to score the win, so that was pretty pleasing for me as well. And then my round 4 game was against a guy called Matthew Pell, so another open board game. All my games were open board, versus Matthew's Warp Coven. A bit more familiar with Warp Coven, you know, not intimately, but Zimbad has some Warp Coven, and some of the other guys that I play occasionally have some Warp Coven. I won 19 to Matt's 14. Similar to game 2, I was able to move into an early position of domination, scoring 4 objectives and leaving him on 2. And this time I was basically able to hold that for a little while and roll forwards with it. He tried to attack some of my forces with his indirect pistol and his flying sorcerer. But in the end, basically, I think he was playing too cautiously. He kept putting everybody back behind the big, well, not everybody, but almost everybody back behind a big piece of terrain in his deployment zone to keep them safe from enemy fire lines. Not thinking that I didn't really care with the secondaries that I'd taken, and the fact that I was able to sit in the middle and sit on 4 of the objectives. Like, he could score 2 on the primary for the rest of the days as far as I was concerned. Like, and especially when I was playing Kazakin, I kind of have fallen into that trap before of keeping you guys in your castle and letting the opponent pin you down and feeling very pinned down. And sometimes and this is one of the things that helps playing Space Marines, is you feel empowered to just kind of YOLO up the field a bit with a Space Marine, and if there's an angle you didn't see and they get a shot, you go, well, I've still got 14 wounds, or in the case of the heavy intercessor, 18 wounds, right? So I've been able to play more aggressively, whereas yes, with 7 wounds or 8 wound models, you do tend to play very defensively, but I did think he with Warp Coven could have played with a bit more push. That would have benefited him, I think. But I do sympathise. The overall placings. So you can see the whole table here. Interesting, I will say. I copy and pasted the data from BCP's website into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT spat out this nice table for me, which I thought was quite nice. It has confused faction and team, but that's fine. I left it in so I have something to talk about. I came 21st out of a field of 60, which I think is pretty good. Like, it's pretty good. You know, really pleased with that. I actually beat Zimbad, Paul Allen there. You know, which I never win when we play one-on-one, but maybe I just had an easier ride than him, or I was in a better place, or what, or had better luck on the day. But yeah, really chuffed to finish in the top third, right? Well, not quite. 21st, just outside the top third. But yeah, I mean, so it was won by Hartkin Salvages, a guy called Ryan Mulson, not familiar with him. Then we had Rob Smith with Legionaries, a local not to kill team guy. Bart, obviously, who's maining novitiates now, which is pretty cool. Get the novies back, give the novies some love, that's good. Yeah. And then you can read down. So there wasn't that many big names that came down from around and about, but there was a few, and it was a lot of local not to kill team guys as well. So it's still very much a local tournament, just with a few people here and there, there, and everywhere. But no, I was very pleased with my performance, I think, overall. So quite happy coming out of that one. I thought it went really, really well. Analysis. So I'm going to do some comparing with Warhammer World, because maybe there's only so many tournaments a person can go to. So I thought it was better than Warhammer World. That's not to say I hate Warhammer World. Now Warhammer World is just as good, very high bar. This is just, I think, slightly sneaking above it for me and for what I want to get out of an event. So cheaper, like a lot cheaper, both in terms of the event ticket cost and the hotel. Being in a suburb of Nottingham rather than central Nottingham, it was much cheaper. The vibe was much more casual and friendly. Not to say that Warhammer World doesn't usually have a friendly vibe, but like this was even better. Better food, in my opinion. Right? I love Domino's pizza. I would eat it all day. Better prizes, right? In that you got a trophy and you got some product, right? But credit to where it's due, Warhammer World does have some other advantages as well. So there's more space for moving around between the tables. There's more space. You have got that thing I mentioned before, where you go to a Warhammer World event, you have a guaranteed mix of Into the Dark versus Open, which is nice. Warhammer World does have 3 disabled parking spaces, which, if you don't care, you don't care. But as a disabled person myself, I'm just going to mention it just because I think it is a thing that I have often watched reviews, and it's not something that people mention, so I'm going to mention it just for the one other person out there that might find it really useful information. I'm not trying to have a go at the venue or pick holes in what they're doing. I just think it's important to have the information out there. Warhammer World obviously has the whole Warhammer World experience. If you've never been to Warhammer World before, there's so much added value in terms of all the shops, the Forge World stop, right? You can't just buy Forge World anywhere else. The museum, going to Bugman's, having the experience of eating in a Dwarven Tavern, all that stuff. But, if you've been to a lot of events there, it's kind of like, oh yeah, Bugman's. It becomes passé quite quickly. And one thing I listed as a plus, but might be a negative to you, and therefore is a plus to Warhammer World, is when you go to a Warhammer World event, you're going to have the chance to get a golden ticket quite a lot of the time, and you're going to run into more elite players. You might have the Spanish guys come over for Warhammer World events quite a lot, right? Usually you see John from Wales, Can You Roll a Crit, comes over to Warhammer World. You'll see these people who are kind of famous in the Kill Team circle and potentially play against them, especially in round 1. All bets are off. There's no seeding, so you could literally, if you go to a Warhammer World event, end up in a game with one of the number 1 rated players of Kill Team. Which, in fairness, one of the things about Kill Team that I love, there's no other kind of activity or sport in the world where you can just turn up and be like, I can play this, and you go to an event and you gotta get matched with the best person in the world at the game, and yeah, you'll lose, but it's kind of, there's that element of accessibility that anybody could do it, right? That's quite cool in and of itself, right? So I'm going to keep attending both. I just think the analysis and the comparison is interesting. I'm also keeping an eye out for other independently run tournaments with a similar spirit to Not to Kill Team. If I can find more time on my schedule, if dates fit in. I'm hearing of things about the things they run at Element Games, that the King of the North events apparently are also pretty good. The guy has a stupid name. Honestly, it's me. It's a hang-up that I have, right? But just like the London guy calls himself a stupid name, the guy that runs all the Manchester events calls himself a stupid name, because he calls himself, let's call him Mr. Nuts, right? And it's just, It's a hang-up I have. But I'm told they're really nice tournaments, and actually in a lot of ways really convenient for me because my mother-in-law actually lives in Marple, which is like a 4-minute drive from Element Games, so we could potentially get free room on board, free babysitting, Mrs. Tiago get to go to a tournament, so I'll keep an eye out for those as well. Okay. Final thoughts. If it hasn't come across, the review is positive. I really enjoyed myself, and I'm heading to the next one. Hopefully, some people watching this, I convinced them to give Not to Kill Team events a go. I mean, if you're already somebody who travels from wherever you are to Warhammer World events, then you can also come to these because they're in the same damn place. Like, you know, as in major railway station area, not literally the same place, but you've already worked out how to get from your house to Nottingham to play Kill Team, so you can get from your house to Nottingham to play Kill Team in a slightly different part of Nottingham. And I think, even like me, you're slightly nervous about being, I guess the word is accepted, welcomed, all those things. You have absolutely nothing to fear. It's a great day out. It's quite a cheap day out, to be fair, for what you get. Obviously, you've got a fuel or train fare or whatever on top. Fine, yes, I understand. But if you've been convinced by this video to give them a go, or just keep an eye on them for next time, then let me know in the comments. That'd be really interesting. If you were at the event and maybe you're playing against me and I've completely mangled my memory of what happened in our game, do let me know. I've got a very poor memory. Do let me know. Or if there's a key nuance or information, or if you want to tell me there was a huge heap of disabled parking that was just like round the corner somewhere, again, this is all useful information. Stick that stuff in the comments and we'll get some of those pinned up for people. In terms of some little bit of channel news, just to check on the end, I do now know who's won the Bad Ab War Hobby Challenge. Like, it's been decided. I know who's first, second, and third. So the video announcing that the PowerPoint's like 2/3 done. I'm waiting on a few bits. Mrs. Ti's doing some graphics for me and things. I'm hoping to get that out on Thursday for Thursday's video. And then at the weekend, it should be the pre-order day for Salvation. Salvation is at hand on Saturday, so I'll do the thing I always do. I will let the people who read books get their videos out and get them up for a solid 5-6 hours, and then in the evening, or I would say on Sunday, but that's Christmas Eve and I'm mad busy. Saturday evening, I'll probably put a video up with my very initial reactions to the rules or at least to the Eldar, probably, or to the terrain. One of the three things. I'll get my reactions to that up as well. All right, so it's been a very busy time here in Tabletop Impulse Land, what with it being Christmas as well. Why are you releasing Salvation at Christmas weekend? What's going on? Anyway, sorry. You don't need to hear that rant again if you've been a subscriber to this channel. And if you're not a subscriber to this channel, hit the subscribe button, even if you don't watch another video. I want to get to 10,000 subscribers so that Games Workshop considers me for their partner program, and I too can have early review copies and get that content out early. That will bring me a lot of joy. So just pump that number up for me. That would be great. Consider the Discord. If you are pre-ordering the weekend, consider Element Games. Consider channel membership if you want to chuck a couple of quid to us every month. Yeah, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you on Thursday. Cheery bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.